Well, welcome to part 3 of a series we've been in called Be Rich. We've been saying that a lot of rich people aren't very good at being rich. I said, unfortunately, that can include us because by the world standards, we are very, very rich. And so I said, but maybe let's give rich people like us the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're not very good at being rich because nobody's ever taught them how. Maybe if you teach rich people how to be rich, then they will, in fact, be rich. So that's what we're doing in this series right out of your Bible. If you got one, 1 Timothy chapter 6, let's continue there. Paul writing to Timothy, a very wealthy city. It's called Ephesus, where he was pastoring a bunch of rich people that were becoming Christians. He tells Timothy how to instruct the rich people. So let's review. 1 Timothy 6, beginning verse 17. Teach those who are rich in this world. Who's that? By show of hands, how many rich people in the room today? Rich people all over our campuses. I think we got a lot of rich people, don't we? Hands up, hands up, hands up, hands up. Some of y'all like, I'm not even participating. And so that's us. We're rich. Not to be proud. I'm teaching you this, okay? Paul said, Timothy, Chris, okay? Pastor Rich churches, teach them. Don't be proud. Don't trust in their money. It's so unreliable. Their trust should be in God, who richly gives us all we need for our enjoyment. So that was rich people lesson number 1. Number 2, from the last 2 weekends. So if you missed them, you can check them out online. Here's number 3. Tell them, who? The rich people. Tell them, Timothy, to use their money to do good. They should, title of the series. Everybody help me out. They should. That was okay. Let's try one more time, okay? Because I know you guys are here and you're awake and it's later. And so they should, one more time, they should be rich, thank you, in good works and generous to those in need, always being ready to share with others. You got that, rich people? I'm supposed to teach you that. Here's rich people lesson number 3. It's pretty easy. Be generous. That's the heart of being rich. You can't be a good rich person if you're not a generous rich person. And you already believe that. Because if I were to ask you to think of somebody in your life who's rich that's good at it, chances are you'd name somebody that's rich and they're generous. Because you think if somebody has a lot of resources, they should give some of them away. Unfortunately, you don't think you're that person that has a lot. If somebody ever had one, or a lot of resources, they should give them away. We think that generosity should characterize the lives of people that are good at being rich. So question for you. You're rich. Congratulations. Okay. How generous are you? Pretty generous? I'm not going to ask for a show of hands because I already know if I asked how many of you are generous, everybody in the room would be like, I'm so generous. Because here's why. The opposite of generosity is another G word that none of us want to be. Altogether, what's the opposite of generosity? Starts with a G. Greed. If I were to ask for a show of hands, how many greedy people? Nobody's going to be like, right here, Pastor, I need counseling this week. All right, I'm the greediest person I know right here. Nobody do that. So we don't want to be that. So we all just assume, hey, I'm generous. I'm generous. What you got? I'm generous. And here's the reason you think that, or I think that. It's because we have a list. Don't you have a list? Hey, Chris, that one time I was sitting at the stoplight. It turned red. Okay, I was sitting there. I was not going to go through it. I was sitting there, and there's the guy with the sign. He was homeless. So I said, come over here. And I gave him $5. I did that one time so he could go eat. Then there was that one time, Chris, I was watching TV, and the starving kids in Africa came on. And so I gave $30. And then Chris, there's that one time my friend, she lost her job. I gave her $100 to help with bills and all of that in the meantime. And then Chris, there's this one time I went to this church. They were doing a giving series, and I thought, I should give. The church is important. And so I started giving like $20 a month for a couple months till something else came up, and I stopped doing that. But you have a list, and all those things are very good things, and those are what make you think you're generous. Question, how do you know for sure? If everybody thinks they're generous, and there's no way everybody is generous, then how do we know who's telling the truth? And how do we know who may be deceiving themselves? Thankfully, we have 3 P's that I think can help us. You're like, what in the world do you mean? 2 Corinthians chapter 8 and 9, Paul talks a lot about generosity. And 3 themes emerge. They all start with a P. You're welcome, okay? And so you can write these down. These will help us know how we're doing in the generosity department. First, if you're taking notes, P is this. priority giving. Generous people prioritize giving. Paul says this. 2 Corinthians 8, verse 7. Since you excel in so many ways, in your faith, your gifted speakers, your knowledge, your enthusiasm, and your love from us, I want you to excel also in this gracious act of giving. I want you to excel at it. How do you excel at something? So I want you to be good at it. I want you to make it a priority. I want you to excel in giving. So people that are generous make giving a priority. And one of the best ways to make giving a priority is you make it the first check you write each time you get paid. Or the first thing that comes out automatically each time you get paid. Before groceries, before the mortgage, before your car payment, if it's priority, it comes first. So my wife and I haven't, my wife and I haven't always been priority givers. But at about the start of our marriage, we decided we want to give as a priority. And so we got paid every 2 weeks. And every time we got paid, we had our bank set up to automatically send a check to our church. We've also done it online at our website. You can set it up to be recurring, set it up to happen automatically. But we wanted to give as a priority. So every time we got paid, that was the first thing we did. Generous people give as a priority. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hey, pastor, question, okay? But I got to fix the car. I got to get out of debt. So shouldn't those be a priority first? Then once I do those, then I can make giving a priority. I would just say the very question is saying that you think fixing the car or getting out of debt is a higher priority than giving. I would strongly disagree. You say, but preacher, bro, here's the thing. I got to get to work, okay? I got to fix the car. I get it. So I think you should cut back in some areas that are of a lesser priority than, fixing the car, like cable. Some of the guys are like, ESPN, bro, we're fighting after this. And so we have cable or out to eat or miscellaneous. I'd agree, cut from some of the lower priority things so that you can have the money to fix the car. But why cut from that which should be priority? Why cut your giving? And here's what happens. When you start giving as a priority, it's like you loosen the grip that you have on the value system that's so popular in our society that says money can bring me happiness, safety, and security, therefore I should trust in it. And it's like by giving as a priority, you say, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to continue to hold this value system. God, I trust in you. That's why first thing I do when I make money, God, I'm giving some of it back to you. Remarkable change happens in your heart and in your life when you make it a priority. That's first. Second P is percentage giving. Paul said this, 2 Corinthians 8, verse 11, give in proportion to what you have, or give a percentage of what you have. Now, why are percentages so important? Because percentages are a better reflection of generosity than amounts. And intuitively, you know this. Imagine if Bill Gates, worth over $70 billion, gave $1,000 to charities each year. Would you call that very generous? Sorry, you'd be like, bro, that's like me giving pennies, okay? He could do better than that because you think of generosity in terms of proportionality. He makes a ton, he should give more than $1,000 a year to charity. So you're already thinking about it in terms of percentages. Generosity is better measured by percentages. Jesus said this too. Remember the story? He's in the temple, a bunch of rich people putting their money in the offering boxes. Then a poor old widow comes along. She drops in just a couple of coins. He turns to his disciples and says, hey guys, see all these people giving money? They're like, yeah, that rich people, they gave like $500. She gave like $5. They gave a lot more than her. Jesus said, she's given more than all the rest of them. Jesus said, those rich people, they gave a tiny percentage of what they make. She gave all she had to live on. She, in fact, gave more. So even Jesus, when measuring and commending generosity, did it in terms of percentages. So question, do you know what percentage of your income you give away? Most people don't. Most people just know I gave $5 here and I gave $100 and $30 and I gave $30. What if I were to tell you that if you added all those up and took it as a percentage of your income, it was less than 1%? Would you still feel generous? You're like, no, I don't think I would. See, when you think about it in terms of amount, you're like, I'm generous. I gave $5. I gave $150. I'm just, look at it as a percentage. 1%, you might not feel very generous, but for many people, it's probably less than 1%. What if it was 5%? Would you feel generous? Well, 5% is like this. If God gives you $10, think of 10 $1 bills. It's like every time you get the $10 from God, you say, God, here's the thing. I love you. I do. But I got to go to the bank, okay? I got to get change for $1. I can't give you one for every 10%. I'll give you a couple quarters, though. Here's 5%. I'll give you some nickels, God. I'll give you some dimes. That's what 5% looks like. Is that very generous? I mean, you say, Pastor, okay, so what do you recommend? Well, what I recommend is a place for people to start. Not where I want them to end up, but this just makes logical sense, and there's a biblical precedent for it. And that is 10%. I recommend everybody, whatever stage of life they're in, to give away 10% of their income. You see it in the Old Testament. You see it in the New Testament. You see it in early Christian history. And it makes logical sense that for every $10 God gives you, you shouldn't have to go to the bank and get change. Okay? But if somebody were to say, preacher, I ain't giving no 10% away, I'm giving 10, it's better to give 5% than nothing. So pick 5% or 3% or 7%. But think of it, what you give, in terms of percentages. So my wife and I, we got married. She was already a tither. It's the Bible word for 10%. She was doing it for me. I read a book, made a powerful impact in my life, and I decided that day forward, 10% off the top 4 taxes going to my local church. This is before I was a pastor. I was convicted of that from God's word. So at the beginning of our marriage, we're both given 10% faithfully, making it a priority. We just thought it would be insulting to say, God, here's the thing, can't give a tenth, got to go get some coins every time I get paid. So we said 10%, see it in the Bible, makes sense, we're going to do it this day forward. And we just made the decision, had to make some changes in lifestyle, had to cut some things back, but we wanted to be a priority, and we wanted to be percentage givers. Generous people think about giving like Paul and Jesus in terms of percentages or proportionality. Okay? Third P. Progressive giving. This is basically trying to increase it over time. And pretty much everybody would say this. Don't you want to be more generous this year than last year? Yeah. Nobody would say, hey, Pastor, here's the thing. I made a New Year's resolution. I'm going to be less generous this year, okay? I don't even like generosity. I'm going to do less of it. No. Everybody wants to be increasing. And progressive giving says you're trying to increase as you're able. Paul said this. 2 Corinthians 9, beginning in verse 10. In the same way, he, God, it's God, will provide and increase your resources. Sometimes you're going to get a raise. You're going to get paid more. And then, in the future, produce a harvest of generosity. Help you to be even more generous in you. Yes, you will be enriched, made rich in every way, so that you can always be what? One more time, so that you can always be generous. That's progressive giving. It's given more over time. Some of you, you're at 10% now. Why not do 11% next year? Or you're at 7%. Why not up it to 8%? Or you're at 2%. Why not up it to 5%? It's just you saying, hey, God, here's the thing. It's all come from you. I want to be more generous this year than I was last year. So I told you about my wife and I. Beginning of our marriage, we're tithers, and we decided we don't want to stop there. That's just where we're starting. So each year since then, each year of our marriage, we've increased our giving from 10% by 1% or more per year. Do the math. We've been married over a decade. We're giving more away as a percentage than we ever have in our life, and we love it. Jesus wasn't joking when he said it's better to what? Give than receive. More blessed to give than to receive. We love it and want to continue to increase. And so as a part of this challenge in this series, we're going to increase it another percent. That's just what we've gotten accustomed to each year. So that's progressive giving. So back to the question. How generous are you? Well, according to Paul, this also applies to the teachings of Jesus. According to Paul and Jesus, generous people give as a priority. They give a strong percentage of their income away, and they give progressively. They're trying to become more generous. Question, is that true of you? Is that true of you? Statistics would say it's probably not true of most of you. But I know your heart. You want to be generous like that? You want to put it first and give a strong percentage and give more over time? You want to, you're just in a bind right now. Maybe you've overspent, you've gotten yourself in a rut. But you want to, you're just afraid. You need help getting started. Well, that's kind of the whole point of this series. You got this card when you came in. Would you pull it out real quick? It says, Be Rich, and on the back, it's the Pick a Percentage Challenge. In this series, we're trying to help you get started on the path to generosity, if you're not already on it, by picking a percentage, like Jesus talked about, like Paul talked about, to give away. And so if you want to do that, you can fill out this card and be a part. Many people already this weekend have responded by getting involved. But basically it says this: I'm accepting the Pick a Percentage Challenge by giving blank % of my income to my church. So if you want to be a tither, like I decided to be at the beginning of my marriage, or Emily had already decided, you put 10%, or you can put 7% or 3%. But think about your giving to your church in terms of a percentage. Now you're like, preacher, here's the thing. I need to go home and figure it out because I don't know what the amount would be. I can't think of my income. I would challenge you not to do that, because chances are if you pick a percentage and then go look at the amount, you're going to want to lower the percentage, okay? You're like, dude, I didn't realize 10% was so much money. Okay, here's the thing. I would challenge you to pick the percentage first. Then when you recognize that amount is a lot, clear up some things, cut some things, and make room so you can at least be that generous. And that blank, put down the amount that you want to at least be this generous by giving this percentage. That way, if you look at the amount first, you don't lower it. And this is what I did. Before I became a tither, I don't know what I was giving, but it wasn't much. But I decided one day I'm going to give 10% before I knew the amount. I went home and cried and, all that kind of stuff when you saw it. But then I started cutting things and changing my lifestyle, because I was going to let the percentage dictate what I did, because I felt like that's what God wanted me to do, rather than going, well, that's too much. I'm not doing this, that's too much. Pick a percentage, look at the amount, and then make room for it. Because chances are you'll be more generous before you know the amount. Second blank just says I'm already a percentage giver, but I'm going to increase it. Like the progressive giving. I'm going to do 1% more to my church this year. I'm already at 12%, I'm going to do 13%. You can put 1% there. I'm at 3%, I'm going to do 2% more. I'm going to do 5% this year. Or the third blank is I'm not quite ready for the Pick a Percentage Challenge. And you can check that. Some people have checked that. We'll pray for you. We'll ask that God would prepare you at some point to be able to be willing to do something like this and let go of your trust in your money and really trust in Him. So think about that for a minute. We're going to fill it out together through a video in just a second, but I want to tell you something first and then tell you an exciting announcement. So basically, when you're asked to give to anything, you want to know what the money's spent on. I can't speak about all the nonprofits that you give to, but at this church I can tell you, every single dollar that's given here goes to help people experience all God has for them in this life. Every single dollar. That's what we do. That's our mission. That's why we exist. Here's some cool things from this year. So far this year, here's what your generosity has accomplished. 1,640 people have told us they've committed their life to Christ just this year, and 625 people have gotten baptized. How amazing is that? Is that not incredible? I don't know about you, but me and my family will give to that all day long. I mean, that's exciting. Just so you know, when people give here, 18% of it we give away. That's high for a church. We give it away to help the poor in our community through our For the City ministries. We give it to get the gospel out to the nations through our For the Nations ministries, as we're taking mission trips and giving to missions partners and raising up missionaries to go overseas. And with some of that 18%, we start new campuses. And I'm excited to tell you today that we are starting our next campus in the fall of 2016. Let me tell you some about it, and I'll tell you where. We've had many people coming from this community for years to attend our downtown campus. 40 people from this community already volunteer at eLife downtown. This community already has 4 LTGs meeting there. They've had close to 200 people attend prayer gatherings they've hosted. 732 people from this community have been through our church. They've driven in the last 8 years. 110 people from this community have committed their lives to Christ at eLife. 79 have gotten baptized. About 3,000 live there, and about 2,000 don't go to church. So the group that's coming in is so excited about eLife in their community to help many people in their community, hopefully thousands, experience all God has for them in this life. So you guys want to know where it is? I'm excited to announce the fall of 2016, we'll be starting our 5th physical location and 7th campus overall in, drum roll, Abernathy, Texas, which is just 15 miles north of here. Isn't that awesome? Some of y'all like, I heard of Abernathy, I don't know where it is though. Okay, it's just north, you head to Amarillo, okay, you can go through it. And God's already doing amazing things there. We're just joining him in what he's doing. We can't wait to see what he does in the days to come. But I want to introduce you to the campus pastor. Many of you already know him. He's been on staff at our Southwest campus. He's currently the associate campus pastor of our downtown campus. So you guys help me welcome the Abernathy campus pastor, Ty Horsford. Ty is awesome. He's gifted, and we believe that God has risen him up for such a time as this to lead this campus. And we can't wait to see what God does through him as they prepare over this next year and then as they launch the next fall. So would you guys help me pray for Ty and for the Abernathy crew that God would just do amazing things there? Let's pray together. God, thanks so much for Abernathy. Thanks for what you've done there so far. Thanks for the lives that have been changed from there. And we're praying for thousands more to commit their life to Christ, for thousands more to get baptized, for thousands more to be set on fire. God, would you be with Ty? Would you give him wisdom as he leads? God, give him all the giftings he needs, the leadership giftings, administrative gifting. Give him every gifting he needs to lead well and successfully there. God, we can't wait to see how you're going to use him over this next year as he prepares and in the years to come as he leads that campus. God, blow our minds by what you do in Abernathy. We want to see the whole city come to know Jesus. We're looking forward to it. In Jesus' great name, amen. Y'all help me thank Ty again. We're excited, Ty. All right, we got a video, and then I'm done. So take this card, take a second, think about it. During the video, you can listen to a guy from our church share why giving has been so important to him, and you can pick a percentage. After the video, we're going to pass these in and give you a chance to respond. Take a look.
For quite a few months, we went, last spring and then last summer and the first part of the fall, and every month, I would pay those bills and I would just conveniently forget to tithe. As a father and as a husband and as a decent arguer, it's easy for me to find justifications for not tithing. It's because the whole I need to feed my family argument, that's such a noble justification, and it's easy to convince yourself, well, okay, I'm not going to give this money to God, but I'm going to do really good things with it. I'm going to make sure that my kids are fed. I'm not going to go buy bad stuff or go gamble it away. It's all going to be used for good reasons. But that's just a justification, and it's disobedient. God doesn't want us to tithe just for his sake. The obedience brings blessing back into our own lives. But I didn't want to look at that. I wanted to justify my stinginess. Somehow I knew that I needed to change my thinking about it as well. And it was interesting. One weekend, the week before, money had been particularly tight, and there were a couple of things that we had to my son had busted his chin open, and we needed some extra money and stuff like that, and so things were already rough, and payday was about to come, and we get to church on Saturday night, and of course Chris is talking about tithing, and it was uncomfortable and frustrating to sit through and listen, because I knew everything he was saying was true, and I knew it was right, and my wife and I, neither one of us would even look at each other, because, it was like, if you look at me, I'm just gonna get more mad because I know, and she felt the same way. It was just the reminder that action needs to be taken, I don't just need to sit back and let my money determine my path, but I need to make a decision. Honestly, like the night that we decided that we were gonna tithe, my wife had just gotten paid. She works a part-time job in the mornings and stuff, and so she had just gotten paid the night before. We were in the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A, and all I could think about was, man, I just signed that card. I just made that commitment to start tithing, and instead of waiting for the next weekend for me to tithe off of my paycheck, I just logged in with my phone and tithed based on, what was yesterday, based on the pay that we got yesterday, because I didn't want to wait, because that's such a dangerous thing. Is, I'll exercise tomorrow. I'll tithe on my next paycheck. That's such an easy trap to get into, because tomorrow never comes. So if there's someone out there who's considering, thinking about tithing and not really sure, I guess I would say that the reason to tithe is not out of obligation, and it's not because I'm going to get something back from it. It's because of love. When I get home from work, I go out in the front yard and I throw the ball on the roof with my son. Or I come into the house and I give my wife a kiss. I don't do either one of those things because I'm afraid they'll stop loving me if I don't. And I also don't do either one of those things because I signed some sort of contract saying that every day I'm gonna play ball with my son and kiss my wife. I did those things because I'm genuinely more focused on and care more about them than I do about myself. As opposed to being afraid of God not loving me or squashing me like a bug. That's not a factor. The factor is I love him. He asked me to be faithful and share these things that I have with him, and so I'm gonna do it.
Would y'all help me thank Ryan? That's powerful. I've got my card filled out. Hopefully you have yours. If you'll take them, the band's gonna play. If you take them and just pass them down your row this way, to my left, your right. Ushers, if you go ahead and come down to the front as the band plays. Once you get a second to get these down the row, they're going to come and collect them. But I believe that when you make the decision to no longer trust in your money, but trust in God, you're going to see him do something awesome in your life. And so I can't wait to see what he does through many of you becoming generous. So go ahead and pass them down the row this way, this direction. Ushers come, grab them, band's going to play. Let's respond together. Thanks for checking out one of our messages today. For more information about our church or to watch other messages, you can go to our website at experiencelife.now.com. Let us know if we can serve you in any way, and we hope to see you real soon.